As the self-proclaimed front page of the internet, Reddit is best known as being a cesspool of unfunny memes and fedora-wearing internet gremlins. However, in January of 2021, the subreddit r/WallStreetBets managed to make national headlines by triggering the historic GameStop short squeeze. To briefly sum up the situation, large hedge funds had been shorting GameStop stock for years, for short sellers make money when stock prices go down. However, due to how much capital hinged on shorting GameStop stock, if they were all forced to repurchase GameStop stock at the same time, this would cause a chain reaction that would skyrocket the price of the company. Thus, r/WallStreetBets colluded together to pool their resources into the GME stock to make this happen. Judging by the headlines that this short squeeze spawned, it seems to have worked. All of this is to say that r/WallStreetBets is rising to become a force to be reckoned with on its own, and it is time to start listening to what Reddit feels about stocks. The issue with doing this is that Redditors speak in their own sort of lingo filled with internet culture slang, inside jokes, and new age idioms. We believed that a good way to tackle this issue would simply be to train a text sentiment analysis model to label comments. In order to define our initial labeled training set for this model, we believe that crowdsourcing was a good way to generate that set. People are typically able to determine the sentiment of comments with ease, and thus the simple task of labeling a comment as positive or negative seemed like something that suited the crowdsourcing platform of Amazon Mechanical Turk. People have long been trying to tease out information about the stock market. However, the issue here is that most financial data analysts are only just now waking up to the importance of what r/WallStreetBets has to say. After all, the entire Occupy Wall Street movement was met with reactions ranging from indifference to pure mockery. It wasn't until seeing their peers at Melvin Capital lose up to 30% of their entire net worth overnight that Reddit truly got their attention. By incorporating crowdsourcing to train a text classifier, we believe that our project takes a newer, techier approach towards analyzing Reddit as opposed to the classical McKinsey method of manually reading through comments and writing reports. And with that, let's take a look at our project. So here we have the front-end website part of our project, and it's a very simple user interface that allows the user to select from a small list of stocks to query whether or not Reddit feels positively or negatively towards that today. So I'm just going to select Tesla, and it seems that about 57.89% of Reddit feels positively about Tesla today. So now let's take a look at what's actually happening under the hood of this website. So on the website, I selected Tesla from the drop-down menu, which means we will be querying whether or not Reddit feels positively or negatively towards Tesla. So this should pass in the parameters of the stock name and the stock ticker of Tesla, and we'll be using these parameters to filter through all of the comments on Reddit that mention that stock or stock ticker by name. We will scrape from today's daily discussion thread, which today at the time of this recording, it is May 8th. So we will be scraping from the May 8th daily discussion thread and generate a CSV that only contains comments that have mentioned Tesla or TLSA. So let's run it. As you can see, after we scrape Reddit for all of its relevant information, we will clean it of all irregular characters that may or may not negatively impact the intake parameters of our text classifier module. As a result, we get fully alphanumeric comments, and it writes to a new file called relevantcomments.csv. Now, using the information in the relevant comments CSV file that we just generated, we will run it through a pre-trained BERT classifier provided by FastAI as a text classifier to get labels for each of these comments. And we will write all of this information to a new CSV called machine labeled CSV. Due to the fact that we do not have that much training data to actually train the model, it does tend to make a lot of mistakes, especially given out there nature of Reddit lingo. As a result, we have generated a list of words that clearly indicate positivity and a list of words that clearly indicate negativity, and implemented them into this second quality assurance module as opposed to our other one, which we will talk about later. And this basically just corrects any easy mistakes that the model has made. Thus, using this module, we can clean up some of the results of machine labeled CSV, and we will write this to a new CSV called qualified data. Now that we have higher quality labeled data that we have run through our quality assurance module, we are able to finally aggregate the general sentiment of Reddit towards a stock. So to do this, we just loop through, calculate how many total comments there are that mention Tesla, how many comments were positive, and how many of those comments were negative, and we will output the general sentiment as a percentage using simple math. As output for this module, we get this statement right here, which indeed is what was outputted on our website. So now this leaves the question of how we actually trained our model. So the first thing to do in order to actually train our model is we needed to scrape Reddit. And this time, instead of only scraping posts that mention a certain stock, here we scrape pretty much everything and label whatever we can. Using all of the raw information that we got from Reddit, we filter it down to only the raw comments themselves. And after that, we run it through one more pass to filter out all non-alphanumeric characters, because Amazon Mechanical Turk does not like special characters like emojis. So now comes the actual crowdsourcing part of the project, which is the way that we actually labeled the test data that we fed into our text classifier. What we did is we designed a hit for Amazon Mechanical Turk, which presented the worker with 5 comments. 2 of the 5 comments were control comments to which we already knew the answer. This would be used later for quality assurance. And the other 3 of the 5 were comments that we actually wanted labeled. We gave people the option to label each comment either as positive, negative, or neutral / couldn't really tell. Comments that were labeled as neutral were later thrown out in the processing of our data, because it is feasible that a Reddit comment not be about any stock or any opinion on any stock. Sometimes it's just not expressing an opinion about anything. With all of this information from Mechanical Turk under our belt, it is time to do some pandas manipulation to mold all of these results and aggregate them into something that we can actually feed into our text classifier. So the quality assurance method that we chose to implement was simply weighted majority vote. We would score workers based on their ability to answer our control questions. The more control questions they answered correctly, the higher they were rated, and as a result, their answers would be weighted more. Once the quality assurance has been run on the Mechanical Turk information, we write all of the information out to a CSV called labeled data. Labeled data is what is passed in to our sentiment analysis module as the training data for our BERT sentiment analysis. And with that, we have successfully trained our model, and that is how we built our entire project. While our team would not necessarily call this project a resounding success, we believe that this is mostly due to time constraints and monetary constraints. Given more time and more resources, we believe that our model could have been trained to be much more accurate. However, I wouldn't say it is that surprising that a group of 5 college students was not able to fully harness the power of r/Wall Street Bets. However, until a true breakthrough is made and the infinite wisdom of r/Wall Street Bets is finally tamed, perhaps all we can really do is listen to what the Doge Father himself has to say.